Okay, what do we have here? Breaking the habit of being yourself. How to lose your mind and create a new one. Holy shit, yeah, that's right up my alley.
It's pretty cool. It like uses quantum physics to explain a lot of what he says and how, I don't know, like infinite potentials, everything. But I started reading when I was 14. I didn't really get it until I reread it last year.
I like it. Meditative process, pruning, gap, 3 brains. Wonder what those. Man, this looks great. Awesome. So, you want to talk making a creative life or making music more particularly.
Yeah.
All right. How can I help?
Well, I guess I have a couple questions I wrote down. I'll try not to stare at my laptop too much.
That's
during
fine.
the conversation, but I mean, what came first? Really, was it?
So for my life, yeah, I basically, teaching was not, I did not anticipate being a teacher for the career. I was definitely doing music full time and wanting to do music full time. I got a good scholarship when I went to Montana State University. I skied a lot. Came back to Fort Collins when my buddy Brian also decided that he was kind of done with college. So we both went to college I went to college for a year, he went to college for 2 years. And we came back to Fort Collins to start a band, and we did. We kind of toured, and not any serious touring. I don't think we were intelligent enough, or we didn't have the perspective to kind of do the business side of things well. We were just in like a jam band and put on some really good shows and ended up doing pretty well in that band in terms of like being a good local band, but nowhere near being able to be sustainable. So we all did different things, and my mom convinced me to go back to school because I had a big academic aptitude, and I did, and got into Jim Boyd's Eastern religion class that totally, I loved it. And I was like, oh my God, this guy, he had just gotten back from Japan where he was studying Shinto ritual.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like doing all this cool stuff, and I'm like, well, that looks cool. I want to do that, kind of. So then that led to, I got a philosophy undergrad. That led to, when I got that degree, I realized that I could go to grad school and get paid to go to grad school, which I didn't realize was a possibility if I taught. And so that was great. So I went to grad school, got into grad school, got the teaching assistantship, started teaching logic, and just loved it. Loved teaching. So then I was like, and I still am on that. I'm still basically on that same track where it's like, if I could create, teaching lets me work, 9 months out of the year, 8 months out of the year, and then I have basically summers off to do studio stuff, and travel and that kind of thing.
I see. Okay.
So it's definitely music. Music was first, and school was just something I was doing. And then that's, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's I think I'm in the same boat. So yeah, you use your time off for music. Do you play or like practice much while you're teaching, or is this your main priority?
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot that, with teaching, the workload really varies. So in some weeks it's really big. Like right now I have a lot of work to do to get feedback to students on their first essays. But yeah, no, we have rehearsal tonight. We played 2 gigs over the weekend. We've got set up for Thursday and some production sharing that's going to go on this week too. So yeah, it's concurrent for sure.
Cool.
And teaching college was more appealing. That's why that's a big reason why when I taught high school for a little bit, that was much more all-encompassing, where it was like, I'm on campus 3 days a week, and so I can find at least a couple hours a day to either rehearse or write or just like in the studio.
Okay, this one's a little off topic. What kind of genre of music do you play?
We do like indie rock, indie pop, alternative rock.
Nice.
Beatles. Our new record sounds a lot like Pink Floyd, or at least it draws from that kind of sound palette a lot. A little more. Brian's big into like classic rock, classic progressive rock, like Alan Parsons Project, and
Nice.
Yes, and like that kind of more progressive rock. I'm more into. I like that stuff, but I'm more Beatles, more straight ahead, more pop. Beatles, Stones, Bob Dylan, singer songwriter, folk side. Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton,
Yeah.
Almonds, all like the really good guitar players. The new band that I'm just now starting is more indie pop. That has more of like a pop sheen. I went to LA to record 3 songs. So, yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I guess before I came to school, I didn't really see something like that as a possibility. I felt like what we were talking about in class today, I had to put all my eggs in one basket and just do music.
Yeah.
So do you see like teaching as a necessary evil to do music, or?
Yeah, I mean, so basically this gets into the advice that I would give any young artist, and this is also take it with a grain of salt. Like, I don't know if this is going to work for your situation, because there's clearly an advantage to just going like full bore into music and doing like all of your waking hours. And this is more what Brian has done, where he's just absorbed music as his life. He's writing all the time. He's recording song ideas. He's refining song ideas. He's hustling to get gigs. I think I would read Ari Herstein's book. I wanted to bring it in, but I forgot it. It's just called How to Make It in the New Music Business. His name is Ari, and his last name is Her, Her, and then Stand. He's got a really good website. His book that he just put out is, I think, the best thing I've read in terms of understanding the music business. And I think there's basically 2 ways I would look at this. If you're just gonna go full into music and you want to make money doing it, you've got to consider that at least half of your effort is going to be on the music business side. That means sitting at a desk. That means sending emails, promoting, coordinating, managing. There's a great piece on Soccer Mommy in the New York Times. You know, her Soccer Mom, I can't remember. She's like an indie, up and coming, really like doing really well as an indie musician. And her quote was, "You don't really realize how managerial being in a rock band is." And that's what I've learned putting this band together this last year. The more seriously I take the music, the more seriously I'm compelled to take the music business.
Okay.
Which means market strategy, content strategy, team building and maintaining, networking with other people, in addition to like all the writing web copy, creating content, in addition to writing, revising, recording, producing. Basically, you can basically create amazing music, and if you're not smart about the way and how you share it, you're just going to be making amazing music. And he makes it very clear that there's a team. So any good band that you see that you've heard of, they almost always have a team. Even you think of like Kevin Parker, you like Tame Impala?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. He does all the music, and but he has got, like, by now there is a giant team of moving parts around him so that he can focus on doing what he's doing. And I'd be really curious to figure out how he did it at the outset, of how much he was like, if he blows apart my advice of where he was just like, man, I'm just in the studio, that's all I did. And then when I put it out, it was amazing and people loved it. But the idea, your team needs to include a videographer, someone that's really good at video, a photographer, someone that's good at photo, a web designer, someone that's good at the web or understanding web communication, potentially a writer, publicist, promoter, and then management kind of thing and booking kind of thing. Anything that and when you start, you need to do all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and Ari's advice in the book is, don't quit your day job, but be smart about the kind of day job you can get. So you're a musician, you want to make a living as a musician. You never lose sight of that. You realize it's going to be a marathon. You're going to be doing this for a long time because you love it, which is what's great about it. You're going to be making new connections and making new stuff. It's not going to be an overnight success. It is going to be a marathon that you're running. But I feel like I would always recommend getting a job so where you don't need to feel pressure to make money from the music, because I feel like for me that adds a stress on it that I don't like having. So I want to just be able to like do the thing for the thing itself and then hope that it works well, which having a job that basically pays the bills does that. There's a lot of variations of this too. Like you could basically get like I'm thinking of like a lab assistant job where you basically get a job where you can just sit with headphones on all day, and then you can like observe the room while also listening to music, and you're like, you know, like actually absorbing music. So yeah, you're getting paid like $10 an hour, but that's kind of covering some of your rent or whatever, you know. So I think it's really important to think, and I would, if it was me, and if I could tell my younger self something, I would encourage him to get more into video and photo and social media production in a way that feels authentic and interesting, and to begin doing that more realistically. Since so much of building your brand and online presence is connecting with other people that are like you and creating content for them that's valuable for them, I think getting better at that is every bit as important, if not more important, than the music you create. The producer he worked in LA with we finished the records, and he was like, what's the plan for the visuals? How are you getting the visuals made? And I'm like, well, I got some people I'm talking to. And he's like, that's cool, but like, I'm sad. It's crazy to say this. Like, we just spent 5 days on 3 songs, and the choice of visuals you choose to put up with your music, every bit as important as the music itself. So who's doing that for you? Like, don't tell me you're just gonna like put some text on a photo of yourself, because that's gonna communicate that it's not as, you know.
Yeah, that reminds me of Tom York basically said something like that in an interview, that music videos are more of commercials than they are. They can be just as much art, but they're like preemptively they're commercials for the song.
Correct. And I mean, I feel like as an artist, it's less about advertising and more about the music itself. So it's like you're creating content that is sympathetic with the feeling you want to create. You have a brand. Do you have a band yet?
I just left my band from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
They're basically like glorified Grateful Dead cover band.
Okay.
And I was trying to write stuff. So not right now. I'm still gigging around. That was hopefully gonna be my cover letter, was to try and like do 2 parts, like maybe a 2-part cover letter, like try and get into a band, or get a residency, like become a house player somewhere.
Yeah, and you might, I mean, do you do solo stuff? Do you sing too?
Yeah.
So you have like a singer-songwriter set?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I've got like enough tunes to like perform and stuff.
Yeah, so I think that would be another, figuring out how to do that and get connected with the people in town that are doing similar things. You know Hotel Hillcrest?
I've seen them. I don't know.
I think that's what they're called. They put on shows. I would try to be getting opening slots, basically.
Yeah.
So you're thinking about other bands that are doing things that are similar to you, and I would just get in the scene. A lot of people that are doing stuff, like the bassist we hired to be in Sunrise Genius, which is a new band I'm starting, he plays in like 3 other groups, and he's like a hired gun session player, kind of. But, you know, I think, you know, working on your solo stuff, and then it's kind of, we're moving back more towards like in the history of music, you wouldn't tour with a band because it's just too expensive. Like, to get everybody together is very difficult.
Yeah.
Especially if they're the higher quality of players that you get, the less time they have for it, the more the more they want to get paid. So have you read Keith Richards' autobiography?
No.
Life? It's great. They went broke to afford their drummer. They all wanted the drummer, but he was like a good session player, and he's like, I'll play with you guys, but I need this much money a week.
For the Rolling Stones?
Yeah, before they Charlie Watts.
Hmm.
Anyway, that's cool. I feel like what I would think about doing is trying to find, what's your major?
Human Development and Family Studies, which I'm
Yeah.
kind of wishy-washy.
Yeah, and I mean, almost in a sense, it doesn't matter too much. I would try to find a major and a thing that you can feel good about pursuing professional opportunities that dovetail into your musical ambitions, or at least the music business. Because the long answer to your question is, if you just want to focus on music, you can't unless you have an investment or a business partner that wants a half stake in what you do and is willing to do all of the business stuff, which is virtually impossible to find, right? But literally, if you want to make money as a musician, you want to begin starting to think about the music business, because that's what it is. You have a product that you're selling, and you have actually a lot of different products, a lot of different offerings in terms of being a house session player, production help, recording engineer, those kinds of things. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. But you are like, if you're not making your money some other way, you're still gonna need to put a lot of time in to the music business side of music to get your stuff out there, to find the right people, all that kind of thing. It's definitely doable. And there's a lot of people that like doing audio engineering kind of angle so that you get better at recording and production. That's what I'm doing now, what I'm super excited about. So do you know Rick Rubin?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I've been like absorbing everything that Rick Rubin's done from like a production standpoint, just like listening to get his like what he hears, the Johnny Cash stuff, the Red Hot Chili Pepper stuff, and like listening to, you know, Blood Sugar Sex Magic and like the stuff that he's done, and Tom Petty's Wildflowers. Like, he's done so many amazing records, and he's got such a good sense of that. And then I'm hearing like him talk and everything, and like how he's doing what he's doing. And that's kind of what I'm most interested in creatively now, is figuring out how to move more into this production space where I'm like trying to help people and help us more as a producer in addition to being a musician. But that's like also what you could think about. Like, honestly, there's a ton of good money in social media videos. One of the people I've like on music video making, video editing, I've gotten quotes for $1,500 a video that other videographers were like, that's super cheap. If they're good and they can make a video for you for $1,500, that's a steal. Like, I wouldn't. Jesse, the guy, one of my friends who's really good now, he's like winning competitions and things. He's like, it's $2,000 a day for me, and it doesn't like that does not include creative. So if you don't know what you want and we need to sit down and talk about it, that's also $2,000 a day. And I bill by the day. So like, he's like, I'd love to help you with your music video, but like you're looking at basically like $4,000. The music district in town in Fort Collins, they also have like, they have like they have like professional music development series. I asked them about music videos, and they said, yeah, if you want a professional one, like $5,000 is like a good estimate of what it's going to cost to make one video, 3 minutes of content. Now, what that means, this is a big market opportunity if you get really good with video equipment and Final Cut.
Well, that's interesting, because I used to just do that.
Yeah.
I've won plenty of film festivals.
There you go. So that's what I would be looking for. And then in that sense, human development, if you're thinking about like what, maybe not the family studies piece, but maybe also if you're thinking about how that connects to being a good filmmaker, and now you are a videographer / musician, you can get hired to do video stuff and have a portfolio as a videographer. As you do that, you're networking with other bands.
Yeah.
And now you're learning your craft. Like, so I would hire you to create social media content for us because we need it. We need it bad. And that's why I'm like playing with like doing different video stuff. And then you're getting better at it, and you're seeing what works and what doesn't work, and you're getting paid to do that. And then for your band, you're like, oh, I'm gonna do something like weird and cool. I'm actually gonna like, you know, do this other weird angle and then do this and do this different edit. Now I've got a promo reel for myself that if I was gonna pay someone to do, it would cost me $400. So I'm thinking, like now in my development as a musician, I'm thinking $1,500 a music video. I've got 3 songs coming out in March, another 4 songs coming out in June, 3 songs with the other band coming out in early March. That's 10 songs. If I could adequately make music videos for those, that's $10,000 that I wouldn't need to spend, you know. And frankly, I don't have the time to do that because I'm making money this way. So that's what I would consider, is what ways could you make income in the industry that can translate over directly to your music.
Yeah.
That's not, so then actually you're not just a musician. There's another good book about being a multi-hyphenate. What is that called? It's basically the argument for why we need more than, like, why like you should pursue many different things. Because they interfere with each other. Not interfere, they add to each other. Your work as a videographer is going to help bring your work as a musician up. But honestly, like elementary ed is another like very interesting angle. No grading. Kids are very inspiring. Now you actually, not only do you get a paycheck, you get some kind of actual like a retirement, and you can spend your time doing music stuff. Is that as exciting? Or maybe you like go full on into music in your 20s, build a brand, and then reassess when you're in your mid 30s. Maybe now, you know, you don't want to be on the road anymore. You want to limit your touring or whatever it is, you know. That's another big question, is how much do you really want to be on the road? That's an isolating life. It's an awesome and exciting life. I enjoyed doing that, what we did in our 20s, but we never did. You know, we were doing maybe like 40 shows a year, so not that many. Brian and I are playing probably like 120 shows a year now, like 3 a week, 2 or 3 a week.
Would you recommend English?
If you love it, man. I mean, I'm a big, doesn't matter what you do. It matters why you do it. If you are enjoying yourself in doing what you're doing and you're learning from it, awesome. And honestly, like reading books and picking up stories, it's great inspiration for songs. Like understanding the human story more, English is a great place for that. I think we have a good department here. I liked philosophy for that reason, and my early songs were like super heady in a way that like aren't really like, they're not that good, you know. From me now, I'm like, well, yeah, you know, songs, you know, you don't really sing songs to like philosophize.
Yeah. Well, would you say most English classes are structured like yours?
No, they're all very different, and you could I would look at some different ones. I would also consider just doing a minor in English and then like looking at the course, like looking at what that would be. So if you looked at, and then you can kind of pick and choose if you want to do like early American studies, get some Shakespeare in there for sure. You know, like I think you can pick up enough of that and then see whether or not you want to move more into it. The comp classes are not a good representation of English. They overlap.
I see.
But an English class is going to be, you're going to have a different focus on creative writing potentially, or rhetoric, or what's the other focus? Teaching as English as a second language. Yeah. Are you sophomore, junior?
I'm a sophomore.
Okay, yeah, so you have plenty of time. Yeah, I would also get on Pro Tools. I wish I would have done that, even though it's a little bit more of an investment up front. I think that's what everybody in the industry uses. And if you begin, not everybody actually.
Pro Tools? I've never heard of Pro Tools.
Yeah, so it's basically like it's the major recording DAW. So your digital audio workstation.
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know what the, like I use Ableton, and I like Ableton just because of the functionality of the scene view or whatever, but people, like all the producers I've worked with, everyone, the other bigger producers they work with, it's all on Pro Tools, Pro Tools, Pro Tools. There are, I think some people really do use Logic. For like more electronic musicians maybe use Logic. I don't know.
Yeah, to my knowledge, it's more for like hip hop and rap.
Yes. That's right. So I mean, if you're in that zone, that's cool, and they have good, like, there's great sampling in there and great drums and percussion stuff too, right? Like it's really, from when I've used that. But I mean, I would think software is a key selling point. Like if you can be good or good enough at Pro Tools, and you like have figure out how to work it, and you can then now export Pro Tools sessions to my buddy in Denver, who's going to be able to like take them and make your songs like way better.
I see. Okay.
So now you're kind of like, and that's the other thing, big music advice. I would, as soon as you feel like you have a product that is pretty good, I would start looking for people that are willing to make it better. That's the other argument for why you would want a different job that pays. A good producer, like the guy that we're working with for the homie rate, his friend rate is like $200 a song to mix. And then he does like $100 a day rate. That's super cheap, like for someone that's as good as he is. If we just went off, if you emailed him and wanted him to mix your songs, he'd charge you $500 a song. So it costs money to produce really good music.
Absolutely.
So like that's like Brian's just like into the music, and that's kind of limited his development in terms of being able to pay for things. And so it's good that his partner in the band is interested in investing in things. But then you're looking at like the back end budget. Like, do we hire a publicist? They start at $800. Do we hire someone to make a really cool music video? That's going to be another $1,200. Do we hire someone to write a good press release? That's $300. Photos, $200. Social media promotion, boosting, Facebook advertising, it's another $600. So now we're at like $2,500 for a record that cost us $1,500 to make, $4,000. It's gonna be difficult to recoup that cost. But we also have like, you know, like a record. Like this is the record that we're super stoked on. It was mixed by Danny Kalb, who did Beck stuff. He did some cool Beck stuff, and
damn,
it's awesome. There's some cool stuff on there. Basically, I wish I would have known that talent will work for you. Like talent, you can hire amazing talent. Like, you could get the guy that recorded Beck on your record. Cost you $500 a song. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So we only had to mix 3 of these. So we were like, and honestly, you know, I don't know that it was worth the money. But for him, and he did cool stuff with them. So like, if you're in the beginning of this journey, I would be looking for people that are better than you, that are willing to work or willing to partner with you. And I feel like that's in the production realm. It's like, how do you have these ideas of songs? How do we rewrite those songs to make them pop? How do we tweak the transitions? How do we like basically revise this to make it really good? How do we tweak the arrangement? Like these tones don't work. This drums, we actually need to bring in a live drummer. How are we gonna get a hold of him? How are we gonna arrange that? Where are we gonna do it? When are we gonna do it? All those like production decisions. That's what I'm like, that's what's lighting me up right now. Seeing people like Rick Rubin that are just like boom, 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 like the way he works. So, I mean, and honestly, I'm kind of pursuing more of those gigs. So I'm like reaching out, trying to find young artists that I like their stuff and being like, hey, I'm trying to build my portfolio. I'll work for you for practically nothing. It's a different deal for different people. So one of my buddies that I'm helping produce his record, we have kind of like a trade going for web development for production. Another guy I'm working for $35 an hour for 3-hour chunks. So it's $100 to get me over to your house for 4 hours. And I'll bring the mobile recording rig. We'll work on your music. You know, the guy in LA worked $150 a song plus 25% of the master, and that's how he makes his money. So he just makes money on royalties when he's not touring Europe with Eric Burdon and the Animals. So he's on retainer. Yeah, dude.
What?
Yeah, he's the live music director for Eric Burdon, who's founding member of the Animals. He's the last Animal, but Eric Burdon's wife, more or less, wants Eric Burdon back on the road because it's an incredibly lucrative operation. So they hired Justin to put together the live band for him. Justin plays the bass, organizes everything, and they've got like 6 dates in Europe spread out. They just did like he's a rock star, and he's available for hire. He's looking for work right now. It's a slow time of the season for him. February, great time to reach out to music producers. They're all hungry. Brian right now would play a gig for $50, you know, because nobody hires gigs in February. You try to get a hold of him in the summer, and he's gonna be like, oh, I don't know. So finding those people, reaching out to those people, that's a key big part of it.
Okay, how would you recommend I go about doing that?
I think you have to kind of be in the scene and figure that out.
Yeah.
Getting names and then trying to look at people's work and seeing what you jive with. A lot of that's just through personal connections. The animals guy is a friend of a friend. And what's going to happen is if you keep track of people and they get older, so like Tyler, the guy we did our record with in Denver, he was what time is it actually?
It is at 2:36.
Okay, yeah, I got to get going. We'll have to continue this conversation. He was just a crazy punk drummer. He went to LA, got a recording engineer gig, and now he moved back to Denver, and he's a legit awesome like record producer, mixing engineer, mastering engineer. He's got a great little room. And when we were in our 20s, he was just a punk fucking crazy drummer. And now 10 years later, 12 years later, he's like a serious player. And like now that we're friends with him. So, and he likes to work with us, and we like to work with him. And now we're like, holy cow, we've got a freaking amazing band now. So I would give it a lot of time and just begin networking with those people. And I can give you, we can start like looking at some of that. I would also get a demo reel stuff of yours. So if you want to send me the demos of the songs you're working on.
Okay, yeah. I haven't even recorded them yet.
Yep.
I've got like 4 or 5.
So yeah, you got to get on that.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, you need a demo reel. You need a representation of what you're doing, so that you can share it with someone that might be interested.
Yeah.
And honestly, most people don't fixate on getting your demos perfect. What I want to hear is your melodies.
Okay.
I'm a super, like you said, Beatles. That's how I listen to stuff. I think the Beatles are one of the greatest bands because they're so good melodically, and George Martin is one of the best producers to ever live.
Paul McCartney is just...
Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't need to be good. It just needs to give enough of a sense of what the melodies are and what the shapes of the songs are. Because then, ideally, you want a producer that's going to be able to say, like, ooh, we can make this really good.
Okay.
And you don't need to make it good because it's just a demo. Honestly, like an iPhone recording is good enough. I wish I would have known that, too. Spent a lot of time on demos that end up getting redone.
I see. Okay, cool.
And then, yeah, once you have that, I would think we can start getting a list of other bands that you should be aware of. And then that's the other thing, when you're young and you have more stamina, you just got to go out to multiple shows.
Yeah, I'm having trouble, like, finding gigs out here. I mean, I'm from, like, Chicago, which is, like, big and fast, so
exactly.
it's a lot easier. But here...
Yeah, you got to kind of figure out who has the shows of the genres that you want to go to, and then you just got to try to go to those shows. Being a writer is another, since you can write, that's another way in. Like being writing show reviews can get you places.
Cool.
Cool, man.
Yeah.